Oh, and it was why we try to keep the blade in the water and what we want to do when it's in the water. So here's the blade. If we put it in and we pull, we want to try to keep that blade backwards for as long as possible. If we move it like this, or if we move it like that, we're starting to spill water. So if you imagine putting the blade in and pulling it back, we compress water on the blade, right? So we've got water here on the blade. Now if we move it sideways, that water is now escaped and we have to compress new water, right? And same with if we do that, same sort of thing. Okay, so there's you want to be pulling it back without moving it sideways like this. The same goes if we go over the top, where you've got water that's here, where you push there and it spills off the bottom, and water here that you'll release, right? So again, you're having to change the compression on the blade. So what you want to do is put it in and compress that water, right? Once you've got it compressed, you want to keep it at that angle for as long as possible. Once you're here and the water's starting to slip up, then the stroke's over. The next sort of thing that we were talking about is how to get the blade in and locked. Obviously, if that's the water level and one starts here and you come in, you've lost a lot of distance, right? Just doing that. And while you're doing it, you are changing that angle, which is essentially spilling water here that creates. So even once you get here, you've already got a flow per se falling off the paddle. So you don't want to come in like that because that creates that flow down. You'd rather come in here and then pull. Little bit of a real subtle push put in. You want to be here and put it in. Put it in. You don't slide it in your hands, but there is a subtlety of when you're coming up of putting it in the water. That's kind of what we were going on. And everybody's heard me, don't drive this top hand down. Okay, I don't like starting with a high top hand, again in a weak shoulder position, and having that as your entry. Okay, I'd rather recover here and have that as your entry. Right? It's very. A couple people mentioned the cellophane. I think everybody's aware of that cellophane here, where you've got a piece of cellophane across here. The analogy doesn't work for everybody, but for me it really does. And that's your top power circle. Okay, you don't want to put wrinkles in the cellophane. You imagine doing that, you've got wrinkles here. There's a couple of reasons you don't want to do that. One, the major reason is you want to have a power circle which is strong, and you don't want to have any point of which the power is going to escape. Because if you do have a power circle and you change it, the point where it's breaking is going to be the point where all the energy escapes. So classically, that is a shoulder or an elbow, and that's really the reason that we as paddlers end up with shoulder problems, is because the energy travels out that shoulder. Okay? If you keep it constant here, we're not going to end up having those shoulder issues. We're not going to have the rotation issues. Top hand oftentimes gets aggravated by doing that, and the angle between here and here changing. That will cause a shoulder injury. And the other one is when you drive too far at the back and you overextend here. Coming back to putting the blade in the water, we don't want to start up here. Again, this is changing that angle of this cellophane here. We want to get up here and put it in. It's really subtle. It's not a big movement because you take advantage of the boat movement. So the boat moving forward, the blade slips in, right? You really want to be connected to the canoe with this part. Pull the boat forward, push the boat forward in here. If one's paddling with one's feet in the canoe and at the front of the stroke you're pushing down, obviously that's not good, right? That'll cause the canoe to bounce. And that'll also detract from the amount of pole vaulting you can do when you're on the blade, which happens after you've locked the blade in and you're pulling on it. It's locked. Okay? So pushing down on the boat is not good. We want to be pushing it forwards. So letting the canoe move around you, being connected side of the boat a little bit, but basically on the butt, a little bit on the feet. Just a little bit is I think what we should be doing, what should we be focusing on.